Today I want to talk about immigration and the lie that the mainstream media and the liberal-leaning politicians have been trying to sell for years on this issue. The story goes, according to those on the left, that if you oppose illegal immigration, if you stand fast against refugees coming into America, if you support strong national borders, then you must be a racist. You must be a bigot. We saw that on Donald Trump's campaign for months, and now that he's headed to the White House, that call, that messaging is only going to get stronger and sharper. Just last week, for instance, we saw as Chicago's Mayor Rahm Emanuel came out and said, broadcast to not just this country but to the world, that Chicago will always remain a sanctuary city no matter what. And just a couple days before that, there was the Los Angeles police chief, Charlie Beck, who came out and said, even if Trump and his administration were to strip the city of sanctuary status, his officers would not enforce any mandates regarding deportations. And this is important to understand because I think under Trump, this is one of his key platforms, his key policy issues. And I believe within his first 100 days, he's only going to take strong action against immigration. And we need to, as Christians and patriots, be armed because the left-leaning press and the left-leaning politicians, they're going to come out hard. So that being said, I think one of the things that concerns me most about this lie, and it is a lie because a lot of these illegals come to this country, they have no intention of trying to get jobs and better their families, become staunch, solid citizens for America. They come here and they commit crimes. And I think Christians in particular are reluctant to get involved in this issue because biblical teachings are that, bluntly, Jesus wants us to first and foremost love Him, love God, and then second, and just a really close second, to love one's neighbor. So looking at these refugees, some of them which look in sad plights, looking at illegal immigrants, some of them coming from poverty conditions, on an individual human basis, of course you want to reach out and help them. And what's taken place, though, is a skewing of biblical principles where I think Christians are fearful to speak out against illegal immigration or against refugees coming to this country because they're afraid that it may not seem Christian. And there's a couple of Bible passages that I wanted to go over real quick that I think have been used to guilt Christians into believing that they must be silent on illegal immigration. They must be all welcoming of refugees. Otherwise, they aren't biblically correct. And the first one comes from Deuteronomy, starts in 15, verse 7. And it reads, "If among you one of your brothers should become poor in any of your towns within your land that the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not harden your heart or shut your hand against your poor brother, but you shall open your hand to him and lend him sufficient for his need, whatever it may be." And then it goes a few lines later. "You shall give to him freely, and your heart shall not be grudging when you give to him." And then that's from the Old Testament. You can fast forward to the New Testament, and you can find similar passages there. For instance, in Luke 10, beginning in chapter 10, beginning in verse 30, it tells of a story that Jesus is telling. And Jesus says, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers, who stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance, a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he journeyed, came to where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion, and went to him, and bound up his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he set him on his own beast, and brought him to an inn, and took care of him." And certainly both those stories tell similar messages that you are to love your neighbor, no matter who that neighbor might be. If the neighbor is in need, you are to reach out your hand and help. But what they also don't tell is something that I think is very striking and a crucial message that Christians need to realize. In neither of those stories did Jesus say, or did the passage say, that those who wanted to help, that those who were seeking to help should pick up the phone and call their local politician, or go to Capitol Hill to their nearest government official and petition for the politicians to provide the solution using taxpayer dollars. In other words, the stories are about how individuals are supposed to act, not how individuals are supposed to petition their governments to act. And that's the problem that I think is going on with illegal immigration now. We're allowing ourselves to be sold a sob story lie, first off, that all illegals trying to come into this country, including refugees, are doing so only for good purposes to help their families. And second off, we're allowing ourselves to buy into the lie of hypocrisy, where politicians on Capitol Hill can wag their fingers at the rest of us in America and tell us how we are supposed to treat these illegals, and yet you don't see too many politicians welcoming illegals or refugees into their own homes. So let's not buy this lie. Let's stand strong on the state of our borders. Let's realize that national security is a real matter that we need to take seriously in this country, with all the terrorists that are trying to come in and do us harm, and with just the overburdensome entitlement programs that we as taxpayers are being asked to pay in order to provide for people who have not rightly, legally gone through the immigration process. So I hope that helps, and if you like what you hear, just give me a like beneath my YouTube channel, subscribe to my YouTube channel, or check out CherylChumley.com for my daily news updates. I'm Cheryl Chumley, taking a stand for Jesus in a land of darkness.